Hello, in this video we will be graphing f of x is equal to negative x squared plus 4x plus 1. Because this is a quadratic function, this is a graph of a parabola. So the first thing we need to know is whether or not it opens up or down. Because the coefficient of x squared is negative, the parabola opens down. The second thing we need to do is to calculate vertex, and vertex is calculated in two parts. First, we need to find the axis of symmetry, which happens at x is equal to negative b out of 2a. So the vertex will be at x is equal to negative b out of 2a. B is 4, so 4. A is negative 1, so x is equal to negative 4 out of 2 times negative 1 is our x, and this gives us x is equal to negative 4 out of 2 times negative 1 gives us negative 2, so x is equal to negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2. So at x equals to 2, we have a vertex. Now, to calculate the y-coordinate of the vertex, all we have to do is calculate f of x value of the vertex, so f of 2, and we do that by plugging it into the original equation of negative x squared plus 4x plus 1, and instead of x we plug in 2. This gives us f of 2 is equal to negative 2 to the second plus 4 times 2 plus 1. So we get f of 2 is equal to negative of 2 to the second is 4 plus 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1. So we get f of 2 is equal to negative of 4 gives us negative 4 plus 8 plus 1. We get f of 2 is negative 4 plus 8 gives us positive 4 plus 1. So f of 2 is equal to 4 plus 1 is 5. This means that y-coordinate of the vertex is 5, and the point itself is at 2, 5. The next thing we need to do is to calculate the x-intercept, and we do that by setting our function equals to 0. So when f of x is equal to 0, when y is equal to 0, we find which x values give us y equals to 0. In order to do so, let's do negative x squared plus 4x plus 1, and we set it equal to 0. And the best way of solving this quadratic, especially since we have a leading coefficient which is negative, is to use quadratic formula, which is x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac out of 2a, and in this equation we have a is equal to negative 1, coefficient of x squared, b is equal to 4, and c is equal to 1. So our quadratic formula is x is equal to negative b, and b is equal to 4, plus or minus square root of b squared, and b is 4, minus 4 times a times c. A is negative 1, c is 1, out of 2 times a, and a is negative 1. This will give us x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus square root of 4 squared is 16, minus 4 times negative 1 times 1 gives us plus 4, out of 2 times negative 1 we get a negative 2. This is x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus square root of 16 plus 4 is 20 out of negative 2. So our two x-intercepts are at x1 is negative 4 minus square root of 20 out of negative 2, and the second one, x2, is at negative 4 plus square root of 20 out of -2. If it's something like this, it will be mighty difficult to place on a number line or x-axis. So let's plug this into the calculator and get decimals. But when we do so, make sure you put the numerators in parentheses because we have plus or minus. So first x value was, open a parenthesis, we had -4 minus square root of 20, close the parentheses, divided by -2, and this is equal to 4.236067977. Let's round this off to 2 decimal places, and we get x1 is about 4.24. Let's calculate x2, which is exactly the same thing, except instead of minus, we have -4 plus square root of 20 out of -2. And this is equal to about -0.23606797775. Let's round this off to 2 decimal places as well, and we get x2 is -0.24. So the points for x-intercepts, the left x-intercept will be with the -x. So the first x-intercept will be -0.24 and y is 0. And the second x-intercept is 4.24 and y is 0. The next thing we need to do is to calculate y-intercept by setting x equals to 0 and calculating f of 0. And we do so by plugging in 0 into the original equation of -x squared plus 4 times x plus 1. And we plug in 0 instead of x. So we get f of 0 is equal to -0 squared gives us 0 plus 4 times 0 is 0 plus 1. So f of 0 is equal to 1. So we get y-intercept is when x is 0, y is 1. So 0, 1 is our y-intercept. Now that we have these values, we can graph our parabola. The vertex is at point 2,5. We have 2 x-intercepts. One is at -0.24, which is a little bit less than -0.3 around here. The other x-intercept is at 4.24, so it's about 4 1/3, between 4 and 5, so we have 4.240. We have y-intercept at x equals to 0 and y equals to 1. So here's our y-intercept. Since vertex or x equals to 2 is the axis of symmetry for the parabola, at 4, 1 we should have a mirror point for the y-intercept. We can also plot additional points, so I'm going to find out what happens at x equals to 1. So let's calculate f of 1, which is -1 squared plus 4 times 1 plus 1, and this gives us -1 plus 4 plus 1. So we get -1 plus 1 adds up to 0. We get f of 1 is equal to 4. So when x is 1, y is 4, and we have a mirror point across the axis of symmetry. For x equals to 3, y will also be equal to 4. I chose this 1 unit away from the vertex, so it's easier to draw the parabola. So now we just draw a curve through the points. So here's the graph of our parabola. That's all.